and welcome to Capital Talk, a program we hope will have an impact on the future of Kenya and indeed Africa. Now more than ever, I'm Jeff Kunangi. Now wrapping up this week, folks, is what I can only call a treat, because check this out. How many of you could say that you know a Nobel Prize laureate? Okay, maybe many of you would say you know Wangari Maathai, that's fine, or you knew her at the time. But how many of you could boast of being a Nobel laureate at the age of 39? Can you imagine that? That's what happened to my guest, folks. She was elected, she was appointed, she was awarded the Nobel Peace Laureate 2011, along with her fellow countrywoman, who happens to be the president of Liberia, and a third lady, a young conflict resolution expert from Yemen. 3 of them, women, Nobel laureates. But folks, that's not even the story. The distance this woman has come in her 39 years is incredible, and a story you all need to listen to, because she was there in Liberia at the height of the 10-year civil war that saw more than 200,000 people killed and millions more displaced. She can tell the story. She didn't give up on her country. She kept going back, trying to help her people. And in the end, someone recognized her work. Now she's even going further, folks. She's started her own foundation. It's called the Gbowee Peace Foundation, helping women, helping young people get that education that'll help bring Liberia back, restore Liberia to its former glory. It's a story, like I said, you all need to listen to, folks, because it is, in one word, inspiring. Sit back, folks. Leyham, Gbowee, Nobel laureate. How does that sound? You know, to have that after your name.
Oh my God. I don't think about it. Honestly, it's not that I'm grateful to God, but I want to stay grounded in my life. Every day I wake up and say, God, keep me humble. And sometimes if you tend to think too much of these titles, it gets to your head. I will allow it to get to my head when I'm 70.
Okay. All right. Now, I must let the viewers know that we first met, or at least I first met your group when we were in Akosombo in Ghana during the height of the war in 2002, 2003, and Liberia had plummeted to a new low, and it looked like peace was not, it looked like Charles Taylor was not going to leave that country. Yeah. And the song you all sang outside that conference center still puts goosebumps at the back of my neck. You remember that?
Liberia is my home. Liberia is my home. So you sing it 3 times. Liberia is my home. One day we will go home.
Sing it.
Yes.
Remember?
Yeah.
Oh, that was powerful. But I didn't believe you all at the time. I kept saying, you know what? And you guys took the bus, remember? You took the bus from Monrovia to Accra to Akosombo. And I couldn't believe the power of the human spirit, especially women. Yeah. You had had enough, hadn't you?
Oh, yes. I tell people Liberia had gone from bad to worse to ridiculous. And the women of Liberia were the ones who were really bearing, you know, people say women bear the pain, but we were bearing it on our bodies, the lives of our children. There was no future. Someone says, why did you do that? I say, have you ever lived and you wake up every morning and you're grateful to be alive, and every night you are afraid to be going to bed because you're not certain of what you this morning you woke up, Jeff, and by God's grace you are assured that you have a tomorrow. Yeah. Were not assured of a 30 minutes after we woke up. We weren't assured that our children would live beyond that day, or someone would not come and execute the entire family.
Imagine living like that, Leyham. Imagine living like that every day. I mean, it's just a country of hopelessness, wasn't it?
14 years of that kind of life. 14 years. I was 17 when the war started and was 31 when it ended.
And at the height, and I remember the 90s, I mean, Liberia was a mess, wasn't it?
Yeah, Liberia, one of the ways that people describe it was a failed state, a nation without hope, that everyone has succeeded in eating their neighbor's dogs. You know, those were the description. And if you come from a place where people describe it that way, you really feel sad. Liberia was also that country that was known as the country of child soldiers. You know, almost every little boy had been given a gun. They didn't seem to have, or we all did not have a future. It was a, you don't want to imagine. I, as a Liberian, don't ever want to think back about where we found ourselves as a people, because it was a horrible place.
And those in Kenya who advocate that kind of thing, because you know in 2008, we almost went down that road. Yeah. Remember?
I used to sit in my living room, really immobilized by the images that were coming out of Kenya. And I would keep asking myself, holy cow, don't these people, or haven't they heard about Liberia? Haven't they heard about Sierra Leone? Haven't they heard about these countries not so far away that have an entire population wiped out? The young people have no future. You know, having day, and yesterday I'm here at the invitation of a local NGO and sitting with some of the women. The thing was, someone said, don't you think our context is different? It doesn't take a second for a country to plunge into war. There is no difference in context as long as there's marginalization, as long as there's corruption, as long as there's mismanagement of resources, as long as you have a whole population of young people who have no future or have no dream of a future. You can slip like this. So regardless of the contextual difference, what you need is a resilient group of people that will say no to any form of violence, because violence has never solved any problem.
Absolutely. And Leyham, you could have had an opportunity to leave and take off. Like a lot of Liberians went abroad or escaped the madness. But you, despite being a refugee a couple of times, you kept going back.
You know, I feel like my country has jinxed me. You know, because my sisters and parents, my mother and sisters and I were refugees in Ghana. And I was one of the first Liberian students that was awarded a scholarship to go and do nursing. I refused. I wanted to go back home. And every time I went home, there was that kind of anger and pain. I would just cry. You know, looking back at the life that we lived before, looking at the life that we were seeing in our different communities, I was constantly like, oh my God. You know, but then it's like you're seeing evil, but you're constantly being pulled or propelled to that evil. That was how I felt, and I still feel about Liberia.
There was a bigger calling, wasn't there? Because when you heard that you had been shortlisted, where were you first? When you heard you had been shortlisted, because
it was February, actually last year on my birthday is February 1st. I got on a flight to go because I had something to do in New York. So we got to New York and it was late that night.